All right, let's just jump right in. What's the first thing you think of when you hear the word peace? I'm guessing for a lot of us, it's pretty simple. No war, right? But what if that's not even half the story? What if that's just scratching the surface? Well, today we're going to dig way deeper and try to figure out what peace really is. Way back in the 17th century, the philosopher Benedict Spinoza basically threw a wrench in that simple definition. He said peace isn't just what's left over when the fighting stops. No, he said it's a virtue, something you have to build, something that comes from strength and character. It's an action, not just a void. So that really begs the question, doesn't it? If peace isn't just not war, then what in the world is it? And answering that question takes us on a pretty fascinating journey, from a really simple idea to something much, much bigger. So let's start breaking it down. To really get our heads around this, we're going to start with that basic everyday definition, the absence of war, and then we're going to see exactly why peace scholars say, whoa, hold on, that's just step one. So there's actually a name for this idea. The pioneering peace scholar Johann Galton called it negative peace. And it's negative because it's defined by what's not there, what's absent. No war, no direct fighting. Simple enough. But here's the catch. A country could technically be in a state of negative peace and still be a pretty awful, unjust, or totally unstable place to live. So clearly, that's not the whole picture. Galtung really pushed us to look deeper, and he gave us this really crucial distinction. On one hand, you've got personal violence. We all get that. It's direct, it's physical, there's a clear person doing the harm. But then there's structural violence, and this is way trickier. This is harm that's actually baked into the system. The economy, the laws, social norms, there's no single bad guy to point to. And honestly, this idea of structural violence, it's a total game changer. It makes you look past the obvious battlefields and start looking at the very fabric of our societies, the hidden ways our systems can cause just as much suffering as any war. Galtung put it in really stark terms. He said, look, if people are starving and we have the means to feed them, if it's objectively avoidable, then violence is being committed, not by a person with a weapon, but by the system that's failing to get them that food. The structure itself is doing the harm. That's structural violence right there. Okay, so this brings us to the next level up in our little framework here, weak peace. If the most basic peace is getting rid of direct violence, weak peace is about getting rid of that sneaky, structural violence. We're talking about a society that has actually done the hard work of getting rid of things like avoidable poverty or deep systemic inequality. So far, everything we've talked about defines peace by what's missing. No direct violence, no systemic injustice. But now we're at a huge turning point. What happens if we flip the script completely? What if we start defining peace not by what's gone, but by what is actively, tangibly there? And that, my friends, is the idea of positive peace. This quote, this analogy from Tilman Bauer just nails it. Think about it. A drop of water in a desert is still fundamentally water. You can't have dryness inside that drop of water. And he's saying true peace is the same. It's a positive substance. You can't have non-peace inside of real peace. It's about cultivating something real, not just sweeping away the dust. And that leads us to what we're going to call strong peace. This is not about just preventing bad things. It's about rolling up our sleeves and actively building, growing, and nurturing good things. It's a creative process. It's something you do. So what does this good stuff actually look like in the real world? Well, it's not just one thing. It's a whole ecosystem of positive conditions. We're talking about actively creating justice, making sure people have access to healthcare, fiercely protecting human rights, building sustainable societies, and making sure everyone has a chance at a good education and meaningful work. It's about creating an environment where people can actually thrive. Okay, let's just hit pause for a second and map this out. The terms we're using, non-war and weak peace, they both fall under what academics call negative peace. It's all about the absence of violence. But what we're calling strong peace and holistic peace, those fit under the big umbrella of positive peace, defined by the presence of all those good things. This just helps us see how all these different layers fit together. But we're not done yet. There is one final level to climb. And this is the most profound, the most inspiring vision of what peace could be. Let's talk about holistic peace. At the very core of holistic peace is this idea of transrational peace. Now, this is a bit of a mind bender.
It asks us to go beyond just pure logic. It's about blending our rational minds with our emotions, our intuition, even our spirituality. It's about having that aha moment where you truly feel and see how interconnected everything is, and you start acting in line with that bigger purpose.
You know, you can almost picture this whole journey as climbing a ladder. Let's call it the ladder of morality. The very first step you take is getting to weak peace. That's where you're just getting rid of that hidden systemic violence. Then you climb up to the next rung, which is strong peace. Now you're not just removing bad stuff, you're actively building good stuff. And then at the very top, that's holistic peace. That's when you commit to that bigger, interconnected vision for all of humanity. Each step up is a more deliberate, more conscious choice.
And yet, after all of this big, grand theory, this quote from Francisco Munoz brings us right back down to earth. Because peace isn't some shiny trophy you get at the end of the game. It doesn't just show up one day with a big announcement. He says it reveals itself stealthily, in countless little wins, day after day. It's an imperfect peace, something that's always a work in progress. So we've gone from peace just being not war, all the way to this profound holistic vision for humanity. We've seen it's not just an absence of something bad, but the active presence of justice and health and connection. Which leaves us with one last massive question. Now that we know what peace can be, what does building it actually look like in our everyday lives?